Hey guys, what's up? Eddie Aho here with KissAnalog.com. Today we're going to look at Gerber files. I'm going to explain what those are. I'm going to show you what they look like. And this is one more step getting close to making our own boards for our PFC converter and our LLC. I think that's what we're going to use for the follow-up stage so that we can make a power supply for whatever, audio amplifiers, that kind of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at Gerber files. Now, in the last video, I kind of looked at a design, the Texas Instruments design, gave you my thoughts on that, on the board design, and so on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the files that printed circuit board house would use to generate a circuit board, okay? And they're called Gerber files. And that was named after a guy. It was Gerber Systems, the company he started, but it was, what's his name? Heinz something Gerber. And yeah, this guy was an Austrian inventor, I guess. And he came to the United States after he escaped a Nazi work camp, is what I understand. So he came to the United States and he started up a company called Gerber Systems. And they made photo plotters, and that's where you used optics and light to, to work against a photosensitive material. But it was a photo plotter, so you make, back in the day, those kind of things were a big deal. It's all been replaced now, I guess. But anyway, the Gerber file, it was a way of him controlling that photo plotter, X, Y direction, that kind of thing. So that name's been used for a long time, and I had to look it up to see where it came from. But what happens is when you send files to a circuit board house to make a circuit board, so let's just say you have one layer, just all your coppers on one side, and you're going to solder just one side, okay? So single-sided board. Well, you have a copper layer, obviously. That's where your traces and that's where you solder your parts to, right? But then you have that colored material that is put down, and that's your solder mask. And that mask covers all the places you don't want to solder to. So it just protects the copper and exposes the places where you want to solder, right? So you have a solder mask, and you have the copper layer, and then you have another layer that's a silk screen. So on top of your solder mask, you'll put a silk screen. Well, there's also a thing called a paste layer, and that's where your solder paste would go. That's where you're going to solder. So I think that's a minimum number of layers you're going to have. You're going to have a mechanical layer, maybe where you put dimensions, the circuit board, the PCB border, that kind of thing with dimensions around it. And you might do dimensions on one mechanical layer, shapes on another layer. So you have different mechanical layers. Well, now, if you're going to drill holes in the board, you also have a drill file. So there's different layers, and there's the drill file, the drill table that goes along with that. And so you need all that information to make a circuit board, right? Well, nowadays they even have even more layers. So they've gone through several different formats now with different layers and stuff that you can get to make a board. So if you're going to have, say, two-layer copper on top and bottom, well, then you have a top copper and a bottom copper, and you have a top paste, top mask, and a top silk screen, and you have all those things for the bottom side too. So let's jump in. Let me just show you what they look like, okay? And by the way, before you send these off to a board house, you would probably look at each layer and make sure it looks like, make sure it's what you want, because sometimes you're so zoomed in on the screen that you might miss something. And once you print out or zoom away and look at the Gerber files and look at each layer, all of a sudden you realize, oh, my silk screen is on top of something else, or there's something you're going to find usually. Okay, well, anyway, let's jump over, take a look, see what they look like. Okay, all right guys, so we're sitting here looking at the Kicad. This is the window you get when you open it, and you got your schematic editor, PCB editor, symbol editor in between, right? Footprint, Gerber, and this is what we want to talk about, the Gerber viewer. So I want to show you that, but first what I want to do is show you the PCB, okay? All right, so when you open up a PCB file, you'll get a board like this, okay? And this is just like the front cover, okay? So over here on the right, you can see layers. I can turn on objects, and you can see different things, the nets. Those are the things that connect up all your parts. So there's a selection filter down here at the bottom. You can turn on and off things, okay? Now we don't have a board to look at, but what I wanted to show you is over here on the right, you have layers, you know, copper, you're going to have top, bottom, and you're going to have paste, silk screen, different kinds of things, your mask, your solder mask, okay? And what I want to show you is where you set that up. If you go down here to board setup, and so you get the board stack up, that's your physical board, you know, the copper layers, like if you got, in this case, let's say 2 layers, okay? And this is a physical stack up, all right? So over here, you'll see layers. You have a silk screen, you have the paste, and the mask. The mask is, you know, that thing that makes your boards green or blue or red, whatever color your board's going to be. It covers up all the copper that you don't want to solder to, okay? And the paste layer is where you do want to solder. And then here's your copper, your actual copper that you're going to run on your board. And the dielectric between copper layers, F, I guess they're using that for top, you know, and then B for bottom, okay? And so then you can see bottom copper, bottom mask. So these are going to turn into Gerber files, okay? And that is physically what your board looks like. Here I can stretch this out so you can see some of these numbers here. But that'll give, that gives you the design, what it actually looks like. So let's go look at some Gerber files, okay? Now, back here, you can see the Gerber viewer, okay? So let's open up a Gerber. So you're going to see something like this, okay? Now, we got to open up some files so we can look at an actual board, okay? So I've got a board we're going to look at, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so let's open up these Gerber files. Now, what I want to show you is, here, let me scroll down. See all these G's? That's Gerber. And then B for bottom, paste, silk screen, and M is for mechanical layers. And there's 2 mechanical layers. Here's the top, and that's probably coppered, the 0. And then we got the paste, silk screen. And this DRR is a drill file. It actually says what size of holes you have and things like that. So, okay, so here's bottom layer, top layer. That's copper layers probably. So I don't know what the O one is. But here's more mechanical layers, GMs. So there's a bunch of files here, and I'm not sure which all that we're going to need. So what I'm going to do is, here's a library. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here. I'm going to grab this guy. I'm going to open up, maybe I don't think I need those either. So I'm just going to open up these for now, okay? Maybe I do need some of these other ones. I got to learn what all these other files are. Okay, so, okay, there we go. Look at that. Now, this looks like the drill file up here in the top. You see that? Hole size. Is it plated? You know, copper in it. No plate here. It's a round hole. Top layer to bottom layer. So is it a via or a pad? And so, yeah, you can see all the information that's there. Now, this table looks, okay, it looks like there's 2 tables kind of on top of each other. See this? It almost looks like another type of drill file, but I'm not sure. It's just a layer, a stack up here. So let's go look at this Let's look at this orange one. Okay, so you can see it's FR4, high temperature. So this is a bunch of information about the color of the silk, you know, the colors you want and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so this bunch of notes that they have. And this is for the Texas Instruments UCC 28180. It's 1 kilowatt PFC. Let's look down here at these notes. Okay, this is just some page information. Okay, now here's the actual board, okay? Now, we can see yellow and blue, obviously, and if we look over here on the right, GTL, there's top layer, so let's turn off the top layer. So that's the bottom layer, copper. So where's GBL? So here's the bottom layer. And we can see it's blue, just like what we see on the screen. And then we have our silk screen. We have top and bottom, so you'll see some of the things on the bottom are upside down, right? Because we're looking right through the board. Okay, let me see, view, zoom to fit. So that's, I can do a fast key by hitting those things. Oh, so it fits the whole thing. So view, fit board, zoom selection. Okay, let's do that one. And then I'll just select the board and we'll zoom in just on the board here. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here and I'll turn on the top layer. Okay, so that's top layer copper. So we can see, you know, the copper, these are like plane shapes. Okay, this is a trace, obviously. Okay, that's what a trace looks like. You just drag a trace and you make the width you want. But then you get these funny shapes, and we call these, sometimes we call those plane shapes. So you can see there's lots of plane shapes or some traces. So they tried to fill in the copper. Remember, the copper is free. It comes on the board. You take away where you don't want it. So yeah, use copper generously, but properly at the same time, right? Anyway, so I just want to show you what the Gerber files look like. Here's bottom silk screen, so I can turn off the bottom stuff. Actually, I can turn off all the bottom stuff if I want to, so it just makes it easier to see the top. Okay, not sure what this one is, and this is probably a drill file. So probably gets rid of some hole. Okay, yeah, you can see that green thing up on the top of the screen kind of going off. That's that one table. And so these TTTs, here's a mechanical layer. Yeah, see, that's a dimension over there on the left. You see it blinking on and off. This dimension right here for the board. So that's a mechanical layer. Here's another mechanical layer. Probably zoomed in too close to see what that is. And another mechanical layer. Let me zoom out so we can see all this stuff we're turning on and off. Okay, I turn off that mechanical layer. Okay, that's that table. There's some tables on top of each other, right? Okay, there's that border along with its tables. So, yeah, just showing you like which, you know, you can identify, see all these mechanical layers like this one here. So you just turn on and off things. But as far as the board goes, so on the board we can see our silk screen. I can turn off that again so we can read silk screen. I turned off the silk screen on the bottom side of the board so you can see how these are identified. Look at this one. I could move this L over there a little bit, get closer to this guy because I got a C and an L right next to this guy. So I could move around my reference designators. And you know how I was talking about how you should be able to read these all one direction, so I can flip these guys around. So I can make some changes on this board. See, some of these guys are upside down because they're just put on sloppy. They just didn't care. It's too bad because, you know, as an evaluation board, you think you'd want it looking nice and like you did, you know, a nice job instead of just being lazy and having some silk screen legible from this, and you have to turn it up, you know, turn the paper around to read this one. And, you know, so if you rotate it 90 degrees up, then the ones like this should be, you know, usually you rotate it clockwise. So these two things here would be upside down. So yeah, and then same with this guy. So it looks like if you rotate it counterclockwise, then maybe all those are correct. I mean, it'd be readable. So maybe that's okay. You're just saying, well, I chose to rotate my paper, you know, counterclockwise, which is okay. It's just that you want to be able to read everything from one direction. Now, see right here, this dimension, you'd have to rotate it clockwise to see this one, right? Because that's what Kicad or whoever, you know, designed this board, you know, whatever software, Altium or whatever, that's what they would have expected to do, is you're going to rotate it clockwise 90 degrees. So if I come over here and turn silk screen on the bottom, then I'll come up here and turn off, maybe I'll turn off all the top stuff, okay, and we'll turn on the bottom stuff. Okay, there's that O, that, you know, so that's reference designators. It looks like that's interesting because, oh, that's, okay, so GBS is solder and O is silkscreen. Is that right? Is that how? Yeah. That's your outline of your parts too, with your silk screen. I mean, because that's part of the silk screen, right? So turn that off. And yeah, so there's our silk screen for the bottom side. And I'll just zoom in on this. So a lot of times on the view, let's see where it is. You can flip the board. Flip Gerber view. Okay, there we go. So now we're looking at the bottom side. So I can see all these. Now look, here's C. Again, they want you to rotate the board counterclockwise to read that, and this C too. So that might have been the, and as well as these two up here. So it looks like whoever did this chose to do counterclockwise. Let me come on, whoops, let me come over here. Sorry, where I'm touching my mouse, it just kind of jumps around. I'm got to learn how to use my mouse with Kicad. Okay, here's some quick zoom buttons. I can just hit that. And then, yeah, so we can zoom it up. All right, so there you go. So now let's turn on the copper bottom layer. That's probably that one. Yep. So there's the bottom layer of copper. And just look over here at this stuff. I talked about this in another video about you know, some of the things that I think they did wrong on this. But anyway, just kind of want to show you how to look at the board with the Gerber viewer. All right, guys, so what do you think? Looks pretty cool, right? So that's just another way to review your design before you send them off. But that Gerber Files, what you send off to the board house to have for them to make your boards. All right. So hope that, you know, was interesting to you. And you know, if you haven't seen before, yeah, there's lots of free Gerber viewers. But now with Kicad, you get one built in. So, but there's lots of a lot of board houses. You can download your Gerber Files to them, and you can look at each layer. So there's a lot of viewers out there that are free. Okay. All right. Hey, 2 big thumbs up to my patrons. 2 big thumbs up to my YouTube members. You become a patron or YouTube member by just hitting the links down below. I think I'm going to do a rant maybe tonight or tomorrow. Not sure. But anyway, 2 big thumbs up for those of you that hit the special thank you button down below, and just hit the thumbs up on the video. That's a free way to support the channel, so appreciate that. and subscribing. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed, do that. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you next time.